This is Mongolian Mindset, and today I got the gang. We got Z and T with us today, and we're gonna be doing another tier list. We're gonna do the most intellectual MBTI types. It's gonna be fun, guys. You guys know we're gonna try to stick to the methods of people who have first first principle thinking, which is more TI. And then we're gonna be looking at people who think about second order and third order effect. That's gonna be NI and NE, right? These functions also, the abstract functions also allow you to be more curious, because NE is gonna be thinking about what if, and then NI is gonna be looking through something. So they're gonna be curious at looking underneath the surface and taking things at more than just face value. And over time, that does allow them to be to pursue more intellectual pursuits, guys. Okay, and then you have TE as well. Crunching the empirical information, making sure things actually work, and they're not just ideas. Okay, putting it into actual reality, measuring things in that nature. And I think in the future we'll do a emotional intelligence to make this fair, I guess, because this is gonna be nasty. It's gonna be brutal. And guys, MBTI doesn't tell you how smart you are, but it does tell you like the tools that you use. And unfortunately, the tools that certain people use will actually allow them to be better at intellectual pursuits. That's just reality. Z and T, anything y'all want to say, man?
Yeah, I just to preface this video is solely based on exactly what you're alluding to, how the functions interact in terms of pursuing intellectual endeavors and so on and so forth. And then from there, we'll discuss like our reasoning and we'll get into this video and drop a like, guys. You better.
T, anything?
I think you prefaced it pretty well, so
All
I guess let's just
right, guys.
get to the tier list.
All right, guys. So at the top we got the Mensa people, right? That's the top 2% of people on the earth. Very smart people. These are gonna be your top performance when it comes to intellectual pursuits. I will see this as S tier. Then we got the built different, right? These guys got just an advantage over the modern person, the average Joe. They are going to be A tier, and then we got the average Joe, which is C tier, right? C tier, just the average person. They feel along the pack. Not, they may struggle here and there, but overall things are okay, right? They're the NPCs, and then we got brain AFK. So this is uh vibes over
Oh boy.
feelings.
Yes.
Your brain is not there, like you're just gonna struggle there. You may take you when it comes to intellectual pursuit, they might be a lot more
Logical
challenging.
reasoning down low.
Um, and then we have whale shit. You guys know the beluga whale. It's the worst, okay? And we're gonna start with identifying the bottom and the top. TZ, who wants to spear the whale?
Me, I got it. ESFP.
Okay, so why you put ESFP down there?
Well, they low, chronically low TI. They're fairly extroverted, so they are fairly more impulsive. I think that this type in particular, because they're extroverted, they don't really develop their TI, and I think that they don't real typically they aren't really interested in like scholastics or reading that much, so they don't really develop their TE child. So I think
Yeah.
that kind of all foisters together, and that kind of culminates into the uh to a more spontaneous, garrulous, but also chaotic mess.
Mhm. T, you want to elaborate on that?
I mean, I guess I'll just like reaffirm what he's saying. Like, yes, I agree. They're SE hero. They're going to be living in the moment. Low intuition. They're not really going to be looking deeper into things. It is what it is. The reality is the present moment. Reality is what you see. It's tactile sense, your five senses. Um, they have the TE child, but unlike ENFPs who might do a lot of reading, they're probably not going to do a lot of reading. I mean, sometimes you might see them reading books. Um, but I think they're not going to be like they're not going to be focused on intellectual kind of things like learning for the purpose of building knowledge, building understanding, and having like
Yeah.
some kind of like intellectual like goal with it. Um,
Yeah.
what I've noticed is they might read like something like maybe related to like self help, or something related like they get into that spiritualism stuff, or they get into like talking about their traumas. At least I noticed this with the ESFP girls. Though they might be interested in those kinds of things, but again, it's not really intellectual kind of reading. But yeah, I think Zara put it pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna hit on top of that. Basically, the intuition functions are low, and because the intuition functions are low, the curiosity is not there, guys. Okay. The NI seeing things farther than what it is, seeing more that's there, binding all information into one um, point, and then the NE like, what about this? What about that? Just trying to break outside of the farm. Like sometimes I see it as like a farm, and like the abstract type people go outside of the farm, and then the more the concrete people stay inside of the farm. So keeping themselves inside of that, and then SE is really focused on making sure that they can use that information now, right? And they're also pragmatic, so they need to see it work. So that's gonna like push away trying to do all this reading and stuff like that. When it comes to reading, that's like a long-term pursuit. You're gonna be paying that off in the future. You're gonna be getting the dividends from that in the future. So they're gonna be more into just doing what they can do now, and enjoying that life. And the one thing about the ESFP is they live life to the fullest, right? A lot of types, especially the INTJs and all this other stuff, they could get to a point where they're really not living life, okay? But they make the best of every situation. Yeah, and I think that that's what really kills them. And then also TI trickster. And like Zara said earlier, being extroverted does hurt you. The people, if your hero function is extroverted, then the functions that you strengthen naturally just by your hero function are going to be the extroverted functions. If you're an introvert, you naturally strengthen the introverted functions. But so that's also going to hurt them on that page, right? With all of that said, it hurts them also being a starter, starting a lot of things, not finishing them, not seeing anything through. Hurts the ESFP pretty bad. T, you want to take one for the top?
Okay. I think, I mean, if we're gonna pick the highest one or one of the highest ones, I'd say probably INTP.
Yeah,
It's gonna be yeah, it's definitely gonna be in the top two. They're gonna have TI Hero. So when it comes to like first principles crunching information, they're gonna be the most adept at that, and then also in combination with um their high intuition. They're going to be very good, I guess, at like taking in information, looking deeper, exploring possibilities, using using their TI, using their intuition to kind of like support their TI.
yeah, awesome. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Oh yeah. So any so basically they'll use any to parent their TI without the jargon, meaning that they will prod different perspectives into their logical framework, and they have a high use of NI, and they're fairly and that will like refine their TI even further, distilling it. And yeah, they're a very highly intellectual type, like the most
Yeah,
intellectual, I would say.
yeah,
Kinesthetically, much different picture, but this they dominate. Yes, that with the any parent and the and NI critic, it with the TI hero, that with all those online, those they are they are forced to be reckoned with
yeah, yeah.
intellectually.
Yeah, just gonna add to that. So their TI, like Zara said, is it's always gonna be bringing out principles and building that framework, and then NE is gonna allow it to poke what if this and what if that, what if this, what if that, until they actually make that thing as close to perfect as they can, and they're gonna keep
Yeah,
doing it over time, and that's why it allows them to be able to handle so many analytical pursuits, right? Um, and then the TI allows it to be a little more detached than the INTJ because the INTJ wants it to work in reality, right? They want it to work. While the INTP can struggle with execution, while the INTJ doesn't, but that does knock the INTJ a little bit down on the list. than the INTP, right? When you get into the theoretical chemistries and the theoretical physics and all of the the math theory, INTPs are going to be dominating. And if you do not have either the INTP or the INTJ, you probably gonna get packed. You're gonna get sent packing. Okay, you
Yes.
need those functions. So yeah, I agree with the guys here. INTP is unmatched, and for finally they get love, man, because the last two tier lists they were down there with the whales, man. They're down there in the whales, so they finally getting the love that they deserve. So shout out to all the INTPs who've been sticking through and watching our tier list. You guys get to show out in the comments today because y'all are number one. And the sad thing is, like, INTPs, their identity is not to be smart, as the INTJ's identity is to be smart. Okay, INTPs care about it just being the truth, right? But hey, that's their pursuit. Their life is surrounded by finding the truth in life, okay, and discovering. So yeah.
Hmm.
So guys, who Zara, who we going with next?
Do you want to go mid or do you want to go build up from the bottom?
Let's go ahead and take INTJ, get him off the board too.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, they're in the Mensa category, but just second.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Yeah,
further
yeah, you got
elaborate
to
on
break it
this?
down. You got to break it down. You know,
Okay.
you got to give
Yeah,
the people
yeah,
what they
I got
want.
it. I got it. I got it. So obviously, NI is really great at like synthesis. They're good at foreseeing the future. They map out their trajectories in life, and they typically hold an identity towards being intellectual or bright or gifted. These types, what they're really why they're also very intelligent is because they got their parent and they got their TE parent and plus their TI critic
Hmm.
online. So with that in culmination with their NI with that synthesis, they will do anything towards their goals. And they are will refine their intellect over a long period of time, and you'll see this catalyze into INTJs trying to go into intellectual endeavors, but they also want to build towards something more concretely and build their vision into reality, unlike the INTP. So they find it more inutile just to talk theoretical constructs as much as the INTP, but they are very abstract within their NI. So this is their vision, their ideals, and they usually garner some muse towards something, um, and they're a force to be reckoned with. But intellectually, they're prime because of that NI and seeing through the pattern. And if their any is online with their nemesis, they can really start to refine that NI even further because they could venture and see different perspectives and even other people's motives.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Thomas, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll try to reiterate just like a couple points. So like yeah, the TE parent is gonna be in support of their NI hero. And kind of like Zara was suggesting, they're gonna be kind of I guess more grounded in reality than the INTP. Um I think when it comes to like a lot of gifted students or students who are very focused on like doing well in school, a lot of these are going to be the INTJs. They they like to see themselves as intelligent, and if school's their focus, I mean not all of them. That's not going to be the focus for all of them, but for the ones who are focused on school, they're going to be very focused on learning and performing well at school. And that I guess
Mm-hmm.
that involves taking in a lot of information. Um, as Zara said, kind of like synthesizing it with NI because that's what NI does. NI narrows down where NE expands out. They're gonna try kind of like narrow it down into like they're gonna distill it down. Their TI critic is it's not gonna be as good as TI hero, but apart from like TI hero, I think it's gonna be one of the most effective uses of TI, at least in terms of like they're always going to be questioning the truth or validity of something. Like, does this sound right? Does this make sense? And then also like cross referencing it to like other things that they've read or other things they've learned. They're if they're assuming that their TI and whatnot is online, they're always going to be doing this when they encounter new information. But yeah, like Zara saying that, like you said, unlike the INTP, who's just on the higher end, the INTP is just they're just going to be in their like little abstract, their highly abstract world, like like Tesla, like Einstein. They're just completely divorced from reality, exploring these abstract concepts. INTJs are gonna, I think, generally be more focused on like practical uses
Yeah.
of the information that they're learning.
Yeah.
Towards
They want it,
going towards
they want
their
it to be applicable towards their goals.
yeah, well, I was going to go towards towards their where's their what's their
Goal.
NI fixed on,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
what do they want, what are they moving towards?
Yeah.
Yeah, their
um
lodestar.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just add like so the TE allows the INTJ to look at execution and how things are gonna play out in that role. So they're gonna be a little bit more practical than the INTP because they're a TI. But then they also have that TI critic behind it, and the TI critic is always attacking the INTJ in a sense to like, you know, are you correct? Are you stupid? Right? You will even see like when INTJ make a mistake, they'll may call themselves stupid, right? And if you make a mistake, they damn sure gonna call you stupid, okay? They always are battling with that, and that actually helps them in the long term to be very intelligent, right? But the difference in their energy for the INTP is the when the INTP is telling you what you did wrong, they can nurture you, right? The INTJ got to learn over time that like even though you can't just slam everybody with TI critic, you got to actually show them a solution or like how they're wrong, instead of just nailing them, right?
Yeah.
That could be a thing there. But overall, they got pretty good with NI. The NI is always going to be permeating things. So then they're always going to be looking to see what's behind this, what's through this, the NI is making it more curious to see there has to be something more here. And because of that, over time, they're going to be very intelligent. That's how it is.
Hmm.
Um, T, where you want to go next, man? You on the board.
um let's do ESTP.
Okay, where you want to go with them?
I think I don't think I'm going to go whale shit, but I think I'm going to go brain AFK for
Ooh,
the
what about,
ESTP.
what do you think, Azar?
I mean, I mean, depending on this list lays out, it's between brain AFK or average Joe. I
Yeah,
don't see them being whale shit.
okay, okay.
They're TI parents online sometimes.
TI,
Sometimes
yeah, I think TI parents online, TE parents,
TE
TE
critics
critic is
online, yeah.
okay. The only problem with them is they're struck into reality. Um, so they
they're
won't be
not very curious.
not
They're
very
not very
curious.
conceptual or curious, no.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
But
think
I think I would put them average Joe, man. I think I would put them average.
yeah, I don't think they're
That's fair.
Yeah,
Maybe on the
yeah,
lower end of average Joe, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
yeah, we'll set the board will play out.
yeah.
Um
The border
but
plan.
like
And
the
then we
sh
can shift everything that around when we
yeah,
get
yeah.
finished and stuff, when we go through everything. But I think
Okay.
generally speaking, the ESTP isn't curious, so that kills them because of the NE and NI taking some hits. And then they also don't have TI hero, right? So a lot of times they overestimate how good their TI really is, but when it comes out, it's like fast food TI. I make a joke in the group in whatever that like a lot of times if that TI parent isn't developed, it's fucking trash. It's like literally you pick it up, it's like, bro, what is this? Like, I can't believe you said this. Like, this is so fucking wrong. So you'll see that with them quite a bit because their lead is actually SE, getting out and moving, but they're good with their hands and mechanically inclined.
Yeah.
Um, so I will put them as average Joe. But Zara, who we going with next, and where you think they want to go?
Let's go with let's go with ISTP. I think that they will be put in the average Joe category, but further
Ooh.
ahead of the ESTP.
What are you thinking, T?
I mean, that's interesting. I would have put them, I think I would have put them in built different. Um,
Okay.
Maybe on the
Okay.
lower end of built different, but I
Yeah,
mean
that's fair.
they do have TI hero, and I do think that out of the sensors, they might be the most intellectual out of the sensors.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
they
ISTJ is pretty high up there as well.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
true. That is true. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why I put them on the upper end of average. Like they're gonna be probably number one on that, and then you would put like a few others and build different. Like let's start with I'll just catalyze it. ENTP is
uh,
third.
w- wait, so let's go ahead. We want average Joe for ISTP at the top.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
ENTP over the is
Mm,
third place.
okay.
Just put
I,
them in built different.
yeah, yeah. For ISTP, I think they're actually pretty smart. I think Christian's
They
fucking
are.
genius. I think Christian's fucking genius. But the thing about Christian, what I've noticed is without me, he doesn't have this curiosity. I'm always the one that's pushing him to be more curious. I'm always pushing him to be like, yo, there has to be more out here. There has to be more that we ain't seen. A lot of times he could get, I think to me, I think he stagnates from a curiosity perspective. Like he'll just, stay within, like I said, that farm. He'll just stay within the farm. And that TI itself, and SE will tell it that anything outside of the farm is not logical.
Hmm.
So we'll see. I think they could fit and built different. But
mhm,
we'll see how the rest of it plays out. They also are very out of all of the SPs, I think they're the most strategic. They kind of go into the strategic and tactical lane because they got that NI child as well. But we go average Joe now, but we'll see where it
I
goes.
think that I think it. I mean, you could have an argument for lower end of built different.
Yeah,
There is a good argument for it.
yeah,
I guess we could put them there soon.
yeah. We can
But
put them up there.
let's.
We'll put
I
them up there.
guess ENTP. Yeah,
Yeah.
ENTP. Yeah, yeah.
So where
Put
you
them
want to go
in.
with ENTP?
built different for
Built
sure.
different. Built
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, yeah,
But like third place.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So why do you think
And
ENTPs is the top of built different or whatnot?
oh, their curiosity is not is unmatched.
Mhm.
They're especially if they develop their TI someone if that's online with their TE critic, they can be very intellectual types. I mean, the more they if they even they sometimes they don't always read enough, I think,
Mhm.
but at the same time they do build okay models and they're always exploring. They're always exploring different ideas and I think that their intellect is unmatched in that regard. And yeah, I think that I think they're one of the more intellectual types,
Yeah,
especially with abstract ideas and formulations. It's just about the fact that some of their ideas I don't even think they consider whether they would work or what will actually happen.
yeah,
They
yeah.
just they just go down. They're just as PC would say. They're chasing fairies down the garden path at
I
times.
I think it just mainly depends how online their TI parent is.
Yeah,
If
it
it's
does.
not online, they're just going to be any hero's going to run the show, and they're just going to be exploring ideas without really testing them out and like verifying whether whether they have validity to them. But
Yeah,
yeah, but for the ones if they develop their TI, they can be highly intelligent. They could probably be more intelligent than a lot of pretty much most INTPs or INTJs. Um, and like at least terms of I've certain ones who are on YouTube and like have like kind of like they're engaged in intellectual stuff. They in comparison to like let's say an ENFP who would just like ENFP is just going to recite studies, but they're not going to parse them out. ENTPs when their TI is online, they could parse out studies probably better than practically anybody.
Mhm.
Is what I've noticed. They could again if their TI is online, they could be very good at that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But they already have an inclination for with TE critic to dissect studies or
Yeah,
try to prove them wrong. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
um,
true.
Well, I would say if an ENTP grounds themselves in science, they're
hmm
almost unmatched.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
the thing is, a lot of ENTPs don't want to put in the fucking time.
Hmm.
So then they would rather just try to NETI shit and try to and be part of it makes sense to me club when it don't make sense to nobody fucking else. Um, and and when they have no science, they look fucking stupid, right? A lot of times, they'll try to. Like you'll see them in the group, and it's so easy to fucking spot a fucking ENTP who thinks he's an INTP because they keep spinning NE. It's like you're not even looking for the TI, you're just spinning possibilities and trying to make sense of it. And it's like, bro, that mechanisms and that don't even work like that. But if you had actually read the data and you had read the information, then you would fucking know that.
Mm,
That fucking frustrates the shit out of me all the fucking time. But they can tear you apart with the Socratic method. Like Socrates sitting outside fucking groceries, basically anying people until like whatever they think is fucking destroyed. Where'd you get that information? Okay. So
I
what would
use
I
it.
have to tell you for that to be false? Or does that always work? So they're gonna be busting you open with that NE, and goddamn, it could be obnoxious. And they could be, that the fallacy where you can't disprove them. They love that one. I forget what the fallacy is called. Um, they love that
It's
one.
on. They like things that are unfalsifiable,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you can't really you can't say that they're wrong. So they'll try to hide behind that. But that's also a fucking
plausible
fallacy.
deniability.
But I think overall that these guys are pretty good. Their mind is so quick with it that they're able to take advantage of a lot of people, especially the con artist version of the ENTP. I mean, Jesus Christ, what's that guy, Lustig or whatever, sold the Eiffel Tower twice to people. So they just know how to just, with that NE, open things up, flip it around until they get like what they want. And they're street smart. A lot of times, the street smart is unparalleled. Being able to just outwit and outsmart people, especially if you don't have the information in that realm, boy, they are just a shark and they're about to eat your fucking ass. Like if you really need to have the information to deal with them. If you do not have the information to deal with them, they're going to kill you. They're going to spin you. You're absolutely no match for them. So if you're dealing with an ENTP, let's say if you're talking about physics, make sure you fucking know physics because if you don't, they're gonna sound like you have you can't even compete with them. Okay, and they're very good at bullshitting. Very good at bullshitting.
Yeah.
That's why you have to know the information so that you can be like, bro, that's not true. Right? You'll catch them because again, they're an extrovert. They're not really honing down TI like an INTP is. Like building it down so it's ironclad. They're like, okay, it's good enough. Move on to the next principle, and then the next principle, and then all of a sudden it's a shitty and not accurate at the end, right? Um, so that's what I would say there about the ENTP, but there's no doubt that these guys can definitely be in Mensa. But I think generally speaking, they're gonna be in the build different. Yeah. Where we going
I
next,
think
guys?
I'll just say I think it's hard for a lot of them to act because being starters in any hero, it's hard for them to kind of stay focused on the one thing because they will always want to explore all these different things. Compared to I think the INTP, INTJ, it's easier for them to kind of just stay focused on a certain area.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They end up being what is it called? Polio.
Polyglot,
Yeah,
Polymaths.
or polymath, yeah.
yeah, polymath. They end up being polymaths a lot of times. Your Leonardo da Vinci's and shit like that. Your ENTPs, Benjamin Franklin, shit like that.
Well, at
Those,
least wannabes.
high end. Um, but yeah. Where we going next, guys?
Let's go. I guess let's go ISTJ.
Okay, where you want to put them?
Let's go. Let's put them in the built different category. They're probably in the fourth spot.
In front of ISTP, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You want to talk about why you think they're in
Oh,
the bit
okay.
different?
Yeah. So it is an interesting pick. So I think the ISTJ, their TE parent is, especially when that's online with their NTI critic, they are really good at dissecting information. Plus, on top of it is this unwavering lodestar towards like precedent, being SI. I think that for them, they're very diligent and they're very studious. They're more intellectually inclined. They're probably good at finance. That's typically the fields that they're in. They're not really. the most exploratory of abstract concepts, but they can engage with them to some degree. And I think that the ISTJ with their reference being towards the past and precedent, I think that kind of mollifies their weaknesses towards their lack of curiosity, because it also distills like they're reading and then they apply it.
Yeah, yeah. Thomas, anything you want to add?
I think Zara put it pretty well. I guess I mean, they do. I mean, obviously they're going to share some similarities with INTJs having, TE parent, TI critic. So they're going to have like we talked about. They're going to be wanna always. They're going to want to kind of like take apart like the information that they're getting. But I compared to the INTJ, who's going to be like, wanting to penetrate deeper into reality, into what's behind the scenes. Kind of what holds the ISTJ back is like the SI hero. I think they're going to be more focused on like, kind of questioning stuff as it relates to the past rather than penetrating deeper, the way that an INTJ would.
Yeah, yeah. I would say what makes them in the built different category is the ability to have SI and to store all of that information. Because sometimes the INTJ actually forgets a lot of stuff that they've studied, but
Mm.
the ISTJ is not gonna forget that. They're gonna be able to use that information and they're gonna be able to weaponize it. So usually, if they're actually and they're usually pretty, diligent workers and whatnot, and they take school very serious. And the thing is like no one has a IQ 10 times higher than somebody else, right? It's not there. But like if you learn through school and somebody else is fucking off in school and you keep doing that, that shit compounds over time. Before you know it, there's a huge gap. So these guys take school very serious. And with that TE and TI critic and TE parent, and then that SI hero, they can actually be very intellectual. I think the problem that sets them behind the INTJ is that the INTJ is going into the future. What is new? What's the new model? What's the new system? What's the new mechanism? They're going to be thinking about that, while the ISTJ is like, okay, what was done in the past, right? And that's going to limit how far you can go, because you're basically putting yourself inside a box. But you can beat a lot of people by doing the past, because a lot of stuff has already happened in the past, and a lot of people aren't even aware of it. It's kind of funny sometimes when you see like the current state of America. Rome kind of went through the same period, right? You're an ISTJ, you pick up on the information, and you use that, right? You use that in your argument, and if the person doesn't have that information, you can pretty much corner them and kill them pretty easy. You see that a lot of times with Ben Shapiro. He's an ISTJ, and he does not fuck off. He's always regurgitating some information, some system, some president, some things like that. And he does do pretty well in debate. So I would say built different. End up being a lot of times lawyers. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. T, where you want to go next, man?
Mm, I guess let's do ISFP, get that off of the board. I think we're probably going to go brain AFK with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're gonna
Brainy
they're
doesn't
gonna
have.
share a lot of similarities with the ESFP, but because the functions are lined up a little bit differently, they're introverts. I think they're not going to be quite as on intellectual as the ESFP. They're going to be more introspective. Um, I think they're going to be more curious about things, compared to the ESFP.
yeah, yeah. Zara, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that because they're more reflective, they will garner more insights. Though their NI is in a positive child slot, and I think over time they will refine their intelligence. But I think that's more artistic,
Hmm.
um, in the artistic vector. But I don't see them being very cerebral typically.
Mhm.
It's just not their domain. They typically are more towards the arts. Um,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah, musicians, painters, the things in that vector.
If we were doing a tier list on most artistic or creative intelligence, they would probably be in the top category.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
but in terms of intellectual intelligence, they're going to be towards the bottom.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
It's much
So
different.
So what I would say is the reason why they're in brain AFK is because that SE parent with the FI, everything needs to be practical and it needs to work and it needs to work soon, right? And that will pigeonhole you over time because if you're trying to learn about something and it isn't practical to you or of use or something you can do, the ISFP might check out, right? So they could miss the bus on that. I think they're better than the ESFP because if you have an introverted hero, then you're naturally better with your introverted functions, usually. So they have TI demons, so that they will actually understand TI to some degree. It's not gonna be like a trickster like the ESFP. So I think yeah, the guys got this one right with brain AFK. I feel all right with that one. Where we go next?
I guess what is it? INFJ is the next one up.
INFJ.
Let me. They would be in the average Joe category, I would say.
What are you thinking,
Um,
T?
I agree with that. Yeah, I don't with their MacBook 98 Ti child that they can't be in the built different category. I mean, they have the high intuition. They're very very curious, but again, they're going to be when it comes to intellectual intelligence, it's not going to be as great. If this was an emotional intelligence tier list, they would probably be in the top category or near the top. But being in terms of intellectual intelligence, not they're definitely not going to be in the top category. Probably not in built different either. So I think that's reasonable putting them in average Joe.
Yeah, do you think they're ahead of ESTP or behind
no,
ESTP?
no, they're
Definitely
ahead.
ahead of ESTP.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, ESTPs, they're kind of dumb. I mean, I think a lot of them are, but
Yeah, yeah. I think with the INFJs, the thing is they're an NF, right? They're not into being seen in the intellectual pursuits. That's more the NTs. But I do think they do pretty good for the NFs. They do have
mhm.
that long vision of the NI and seeing deeply in things and trying to use their TI with that. The only thing is it's so much slower in trusting outside sources, right? They kind of like it's almost like if you were to if they were to read something, they have to break it down into a language that they understand. It's the weirdest shit. Like you can't just like a lot of times you can't just say something to an INFJ. It's almost like they have to decode it in their own logic and then receive it, which is like weird as fuck to me. Sweet Steve was telling me about that. It's like, and my friend Raquel, she's INFJ as well, and she's like, "Yo, I can't do that. Like, I gotta break it down in my own logic, and that's just so slow, right? So they'll end up coming back to you like 2 days later, 3 days later, about the same thing that you talked about, and you'd have moved on to 10 different other things. Just that processing speed, MacBook 1998. But it's all about their understanding. So that TI there can be a lot slower, but I do think they do pretty good as doctors. You know, we have like Dr. Mike and other like Simon Sinek. They can do pretty good with
Yeah.
the NI, getting the NI and TI on pursuit. And I think a lot of times their TI can be a little bit better than people actually anticipate, but it's just slow as fuck, man.
hmm
The TE is just not there. It's just not there. But yeah, I would say average Joe. Um, okay, guys, where are we putting the ENFP? Ooh, that's a controversial one.
That's a
That's
tricky one, I think.
I would yeah, I put them in built different. Um,
What do you
just
think, T? You think the same?
I mean, I think that they're above the average Joe category. I think it's fair to put them in built different.
Where you want to put
I think
them?
that they can be
I think
highly
they're slight.
intellectual.
I think they're slightly above ISTP.
Boy, you about to have fucking ISTPs raging.
Yeah, he's the ISTP hater.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm in TP Bane. Remember? Anyhow, I
Why
think
you think
my
they're
the
up
reason.
here? Like, why do you think they're up here, but ESFP is down there and they got the same trickster?
Well, for the exact same for many reasons. One, their NE carries their curiosity, and they explore a lot, and they read a lot of information. They become miniature libraries of
Yeah.
and I think for them, they really make a lot of impact. Like they make headway into like sometimes politics. They apply their information more, and they even well, I mean, also being con artists like ENTPs, Ty Lopez, but I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
he's being investigated by the SEC, if I remember correctly,
yeah.
for a Ponzi scheme. Yeah,
Mm.
I think I think they're fairly intellectual, especially when they loop between their NE and TE. Their main issue is that they don't really break down information and break down definitions, so that's a slower end for them. And I understand that part, but the issue is that a lot of times that they garner so much information, and they make quick connections to things, and so in terms of just processing speed, they're very quick
Yeah, yeah,
and very adept with it. So I would say that they are up. They're very, because of their curiosity and the amount they compile into their framework, into their NE. It's unmatched in that regard.
yeah, yeah. T, anything you want to add?
No, I don't want to add anything to that. I think yeah, he broke it down pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, for the ENFP, I agree with these guys. The ENFP, they actually sneak in Mensa quite a bit.
That's true.
These
Yeah.
guys can suck down fucking information like nobody else's business with that any curiosity and just reading books, reading books. These are the type of people that probably read 60, 40, 100 books a fucking year, right? And they're compiling all that fucking information. They're like literally the walking shallow library of Alexandria, right? They have information on anything. The only thing is they can't apply those principles to different things, right? They don't understand the actual underlying um, first principle
Foundation.
of things that they get to. And so you'll see them stumble a lot of times, or like you'll see like when they're telling you something, if you push a little bit deeper, it like dissipates. But generally speaking, they could cover it up because they know so much energy, so much information, they could just spout it like boom, 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 boom. And they love to hear other people's opinions with
Hmm.
any, like
Yeah.
other people's perspectives, and they just gather them and suck it down. Um, so like a lot of times if they, study the experts, then they can be pretty much
They
unmatched
can
with
appear pretty
information.
competent. They
Yeah,
have the appearance of being
yeah,
competent a
yeah.
lot of times.
And
Well,
just for speed. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, because they
I
can gather so much information and reference so many different things, and like it kind of like I think Mercer was saying, but in contrast to like ENTPs, like where if an you know you can't necessarily argue with an ENTP's TI because they're always going to shut down anything you say. Like Mercer was saying, the ENFP I think is probably they're going to be more willing to listen to other people.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
it just makes them, yeah, with that NETE, it's just fucking
So
unmatched with information.
yeah, but it's more about processing speeds.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're gonna know a lot of shit about everything. While the ISTP, like we said, they're in that farm, and what's in the farm, they stay into it. While the ENFP is gonna be like getting out there doing all this shit, and then at the same time they're learning all this shit and they're taking in everybody's information, and then they're just spewing it back out. So I think yeah, that's a good one. All right, guys. So where are we putting the ENTJ?
ENTJ, I think they're a little above the INFJ, but I don't think they're in the built different category.
What do you think of T?
Um, I would say most likely average Joe.
Oh,
I'm not sure if I would put him ahead of INFJ or not, but I'd say average Joe. We could start there. Because they their TI off is often not really online. At the nemesis is sometimes called the ignoring function, and being extroverts, being TE hero, they're going to prioritize their extroverted functions. I find, even though they do have the high intuition, I find that a lot of them, they don't really seem that they're not really like the most curious people, in my opinion, in my experience. They're going to be great at, I guess, taking in information and, um, being able to reference certain things. But I mean, from what I can tell, out of the intellectuals, they're not like really the most intellectually engaged. They're not going to whereas INTJs really pride themselves on being intelligent and doing well in school. I think the ENTJ is generally going to lag far behind that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I think we're I think ENTJs mainly pride themselves on on their achievements or
yeah,
whatever is going to lead them to get their accolades.
yeah.
So they're not if scholastics is they if they don't perceive scholastics as their way to get there, they won't care.
And it's gonna.
They're not naturally curious for just curiosity's sake.
I think. Well, yeah, they're going to be more focused, like you said, on their accolades, their achievements, and also, I guess, on
Productive.
productivity, effectiveness. Get because of that the TE hero getting things done. Whereas, yeah, that like you're saying, it's not like the INTP or INTJ. It's not going to be curiosity just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will say generally speaking, the E and J's are on the abstract line. They're barely cutting it off, man. They're barely cutting it off, so that
Yeah,
does hurt them in the realm of this because you do need the abstract to be able to solve very complex problems. A lot of times they can like door walk right past the door that's NI parent. And when they're walking past the NI parent to entertain what they can do in the moment. They could keep looping and doing this for quite a bit of time because they're still able to get a lot of stuff done. Because their hero function is really loved by the world, just the ability to get things done and marshal resources, being effective, working on productivity, optimizing systems.
yeah,
That's like the world really curates that. So for them, they're less inclined to have to work on their introverted functions. And because they don't work on their introverted functions, that could come back to bite them in the ass. So the NI will be behind, the TI will be behind, all of that type of stuff will be behind because of that. Okay. That TESE, like what can I do right now to make an impact that will get results? Boom, 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 right?
Yeah, they loop
Um,
between their and they're looping between their TE and SE
yeah.
constantly. That's what happens. They ignore their NI.
And then
That's what it.
even with the
Yeah.
NI, they'll tailor it just a little bit. Like, so they'll be like, what can I do right now to get results and then continue that in the future? It won't be like what INTJ is like future first. I got the future that I want, and now TE is gonna get me there. They're kind of like the opposite of that. Like I'm being productive and getting things done in the moment, but I need to kind of chart it a little bit to the future. Um,
Yeah.
so that's more how that's gonna work. It's gonna take a knack for them. I think if they really have to, study a little too hard, that TI opposing can struggle in that department. But these guys can read a lot of books and stuff like that and change their life. They just got to get their NI online, and with the NI online, then they become like like Patrick Bet David, reading 80 books a year and shit. So
Hmm.
but it's just not natural. They need something to give them a purpose. They need something to hit them and bring them on a purpose, or they need to get installed into like a corporate ladder or something like that, or they need to get installed in the military or something like that, and they can just boom, 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 and then it kind of puts the NI online, and then once they get the NI online, they can do very well with that. But generally speaking, that TESE does hurt quite a bit. I agree with the guys with this one. So guys, where we going with ESTJ?
ESTJ. I was listen. I think they're nearly built different, but just to make this distribution look better, they're gonna be first on the average Joe for the average Joes.
What are you thinking, T?
I think that's reasonable.
Think you think okay, okay. First on that. Yeah, yeah. I can
Yeah.
see that. The first on
I
that.
mean, yeah, unfortunately, I could even see an argument for them being ahead of ISTP, but I don't. I think for this list, it's fine.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they are ahead of you, ISTP. Not gonna lie, uh,
yeah,
because a lot
I
of
think
your
swap put ISTJ in average Joe and then put ESTJ there.
yeah yeah
Perfect.
yeah.
I think ESTJs are just one of the things that they have going for them is not only are they
I think they might be
smart,
very in front of ENFP. What do you think? I think.
Yeah,
yeah,
to
a
be
lot of
honest.
them are your
Mm.
a lot of them are your presidents.
Hmm.
That's a fact.
Yeah,
And
that's
they
a
get
fact.
a lot of they get shit done, but they also have that any child. The people it's not talked about, but they can explore a bit and then they really can enact upon their these different possibilities. Um, they also have some stability with their with their SI parent. I don't think they're really high with their TI, but typically I think they develop it better than people will give them props for.
Hmm.
Um,
And I
yeah,
would say they're. I'm just sorry to cut you off, but I would say their TI, I would say, is generally better than it is on ENTJs.
Way better.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're more disciplined.
Well, yeah.
It's not willpower, but they're just disciplined towards achieving some goal.
I think, yeah, I would agree. I think the ESTJ is built different because a lot of times he's going to be a valedictorians and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Going to be
Uh-huh.
going
Yeah,
fucking hard for that goddamn school. Like they're going to be going hard. And then also with the TE any, it doesn't mean that they're closed off from the abstraction. It just gotta work. Right? So
yeah,
they will deal, they will like, okay, I'll entertain it. They got the I'll entertain it. Um, so they end up doing pretty good, and they take school serious, and like I said, the compounding of school, and being the best in the class and the best grades and the leadership and shit like that. That shit compounds, and then they end up being like Barack Obama and stuff like that, and then Tom Brady, like Gavin Newsom,
I'm so well.
Ron DeSantis,
Thomas Sowell.
Thomas Sowell,
Yeah.
fucking JD Vance, like all these guys, like bro, when Piers Morgan, like they're built fucking different. Like it is what it is. You got to
They're
know your
smart.
shit.
They're smart
You
Yeah.
gotta know your shit.
without a doubt. They're without a doubt fairly bright.
Yeah.
They are they're I mean even could see probably some of them are in Mensa. Like that's truth be told, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them are slugging around a 140 IQ.
Yeah. I think definitely like I think they're pretty good. All
Yeah.
right, guys. We
All
got
right.
some
We
controversy here.
Yeah,
Where
okay.
we're
it's
gonna
gonna
lay
get
that one to the last.
Yeah.
Where we putting ENFJ?
Brain AFK.
yeah.
That without a doubt.
In
I
front of the
think
ISFP or behind the ISFP?
In
I
I think
think
they're slightly in front of them.
yeah, I mean because they're
Yeah,
intuitive. They're
yeah, they have a
intuitive.
little bit, but
Yeah.
they're just so focused on the group. They get submerged in it. They're kind of, you know what's sad is they're kind of doormats, to be honest. Um, but I mean, I think they're genuinely try to be good people, but I don't see them as being real intellectual, cerebral, wanting to sit down and study for the sake of it. I don't. And again, like it's kind of like INTJ, but without the TE. It's kind
Hmm.
of it's.
And
I mean,
and
what do we expect here? I mean, they're kind people, but I wouldn't call them cerebral. That's just I don't think they would consider themselves that academically focused. So yeah,
I think they can
I
be,
have
but yeah, generally not.
nah, no,
The
they're not.
TI's, TI is often just not online really.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the TI inferior. Oof,
yeah, yeah. I
What
mean, yeah, go
I'll
Steve.
just say
slow
what I have
processing.
noticed is I think I see some of them they'll get like into IT, which I think is kind of surprising, but I think they can kind of put the TI to work. But most of them are not really gonna do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I would say I think for them the world is about FE, right?
Hmm.
And the FETI axis for them is stuck, right? The hero and the inferior is stuck, while the child and the parent is a little bit more flexible, right? theirs is stuck like that. So they're gonna value how other people feel over what they think all the time. And because of that, over time, it makes them insecure about what they think, or their logical own framework. And I
Yeah.
think also with the TE demon, man, they're really hard for them to take information from other people. It's just like it's almost like talking a different language. Like when I talk to Jerry, like he says that I talk academically, so he can't like use any information I talk about. But like if he talks to a TI user, he seems to be able to get Christian's information or Kyle's information better. But for me, I could tell Jerry, man, don't do this. This is the reason why. Like this is gonna happen to you in the future. Do this shit. Motherfucker's still not gonna listen. And in the future, he gonna have that same fucking blunder. And I'm like, I fucking told you this. It just doesn't work. But I do sometimes I play with him when we're at the gym. Like I'll just say something incorrect, and then like 3 minutes later, he'll be like, bro, you know that shit was incorrect. You said right. So TI is there, but it's just like really slow. Like as if you would have said that to like an ENTP, they would probably called you out very quick. Um, I play around with Gabby to see how quick her INTP is, and it's almost like immediately checked. INTJ, obviously, TI credit, they're gonna be in your ass by anything you say incorrect. But with the ENFJ, the TI inferior, and the TE demon, it hurts quite a bit. They're not even focused on this type of thing. They're focused on people, right? People don't always make sense, right? Um, but when it comes to people, there's no one better. But it's just really focused on the group. So I do think brain is gone. Um, I mean, Jerry tried to he was like, bro, you got to take my test for me. And I was like, this fucking guy here, bro. Uh,
Okay.
but yeah.
I will make a controversial point. I'm gonna put INFP in the above average Joe category, slightly ahead of ESTP.
Woo! Woo! What are you thinking, T?
I mean, well, they're definitely ahead of ESTP, I would say.
Yeah, they
As
have
far
to
as
be.
where they fall under average Joe, I mean, they can be pretty scholarly, pretty cerebral. I mean, they're very introspective. They can be very reflective. I think out of the NFs, they are high. They can be highly intellectual.
I think
I
even put them ahead of INFJ.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
honestly, yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking they probably even higher up in the average Joe category.
yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go above ENTJ? I mean, I can
Nah, I wouldn't
make
go that far, but I do think the INFP, because for them, they have the largest listening
yeah,
time. So they just
Yeah,
soak down information, right?
yeah. That's
And
what I mean.
and
And then they create all these like possibilities off of it, but then they're evaluating them to their morals framework,
mhm,
and they're like, what aligns with me? But they're very reflective and they're
mhm,
not very impulsive, and that's why I'm starting to wonder if you could even make a case for them being slightly above ENTJ in that regards, except for the fact that ENTJ prides themselves more on achievements and they're more secure in
mhm.
the information they receive.
Yeah,
So I think that INFPs kind of um stunt themselves a bit.
yeah,
I think it is. I think we'll keep it where it is,
yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I
Think
think
that
I
it's more
think
settled.
we just shocked the world here. Because I know you guys were thinking we were gonna put INFP and Brain AFK,
or
but
whale
we
shit.
would or well shit, but
Nah.
surprisingly, a lot of INFPs have actually really high IQs, and you will really be
Yeah,
fucking surprised. The thing is they have TE inferior and they don't want to voice their opinion, right? Because if you
Yeah.
challenge their opinion, they get fucking disharmony inside of themselves. And they are very like conflict avoidant people. But generally speaking, they soak down a lot of
I
information. A
I
lot.
I still think that there's an argument to be said, like just on a pure IQ basis, that they're probably higher than ENTJ. But
I think you're yeah, I definitely think you're actually right about that.
Y'all want to put it in front of ENTJ?
yeah, yep,
I
yep.
think we can do that. What
Woo,
what
I
woo.
think it's a fair. I think it's only fair. I don't know if they're ahead of ISTP. I wouldn't
no, I
go
wouldn't
that
do that.
far,
Yeah.
but ENTJs just kind of are kind of fast food in that regards. They're pretty impulsive. where INFPs are reflective. They take in the information, they really evaluate it, and then they have any parent online with their NI critic coming in. They're very intelligent, and yeah,
Yeah.
I can't leave them in brain AFK
Yeah,
for
I
work.
think with the INFP, like we said, largest listening time, they go in
Yeah.
from listening to other people. If
Oh,
they listen to credible people, they're literally you can't really they you can't really check them, right? But the thing is, you could check them because they won't like to voice their opinion, but they'll just know you're fucking wrong, based off what they've heard from somebody else, right? And they're okay with going and get those big degrees. You guys don't realize that a lot of time they'll go and get those big ass fucking degrees, but the only thing with them is they will stagnate, right? Because they feel everything so deeply. Some days they don't want to go out and do stuff, or they don't want to do something because their internal world is in disarray.
mhm.
That will hurt them quite a bit, but they are very intellectually curious, right? They might
Yeah,
have
they
a
have that
problem.
curiosity.
They may have a problem with like, understanding the underlying principles behind things, but the general wealth of knowledge they have, like Robert Greene and shit, um, it's they make you type him INTJ, so that is our controversy for the day. Okay, guarantee you guys did not see that. Sad, I know you're gonna be happy when you see that. Dadam, I know you're gonna be happy when you see that. Yeah. Shout out to our INFPs in the community.
I'd just like to make one point though. Well, I think one of the things that holds them back is their FI hero and TE inferior, because I think they can have a problem where they just kind of, as Zara alluded to this, they cherry pick information that aligns with their FI.
Hmm.
And I think there's a YouTuber, on a unit and she does psychology related stuff. The thing is, like Mercer said, they can have trouble voicing their opinion, but anything that contradicts their opinion or values, they want to shut it down. They won't allow it. And I think what that's one of the things that kind of limit their curiosity, because if it if again if it falls outside of their values, they're not necessarily going to entertain it. That's just something I've kind of noticed with them. And it can be very annoying because if you look at like INTJs or people like ENTPs, I think they'd be more willing to consider something that falls outside of like what of their current understanding. They'll at least take it in and kind of TI it. INFP, if it crosses their values, they might just shut it down. It's like, no, I'm not even entertaining this.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. And they're probably never gonna talk to you ever again.
Well, that too.
And just heads up, you guys, we do have INFP president. What was his name?
Jimmy
Jimmy
Carter,
Carter. Jimmy Carter. And you also got Mr. Rogers. You got the guy who created the power of myth,
Joseph Campbell.
Joseph Campbell. These are all intellectual INFPs here, guys. And I guarantee you, those INFPs are smarter than you. Um,
For sure. Robert Greene is like you mentioned as well.
so even that one guy, Jacob Rothschild, he's still a
Mhm.
smart motherfucker, man. He managing all that goddamn money. Um, yeah. So where are we going with ESFJ, guys?
They're pretty much brain AFK and
What do you
not
think of T? Same?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I've seen them do very well in school. I think because I think you have to put them ahead of ENFJ regardless of where we put them.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because
I was thinking ahead of them, but I mean,
definitely ahead of ENFJ. I might even put them ahead of ESTP to be honest. Because yeah, I mean,
Damn.
yeah,
I guess
Okay.
ESTPs. I mean, they're just usually not that smart if it's and they're not really that curious and if it's not something that applies to practical reality like using their SC, they're not their TI is just I think pretty useless. I like I know that ESFJs kind of get a bad rap because of their low TI, but like as I think I've noticed many of them do pretty well in school. I think being affiliative and having the high SI. Um, they care about doing well, maybe for their family, for their community. They and also I think because of their TI, it may cause them to kind of want to like overperform in that area. Their TI like being kind of like a weakness or insecurity for them, and they're going to be much better at retaining information compared to ENFJs.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to be on the same level as an ESTJ or ISTJ, but in my experience, they are fairly intelligent, and
They're not dumb.
I think SJs can kind of get a bad rap because people just kind of like people just think that they're just normies or they're NPCs. I do find even with ESFJs that they will kind of question things. Like they'll question what the what authorities or politicians are telling them, what they're being told about COVID, or what they're being told about XYZ. So I think it's they're average Joes. That's very reasonable, but they're not completely brain dead.
Yeah.
No.
I would say that SI helps them quite a bit being in the
Yeah,
thinking slot. And then the any child keeps them open to new information and new things. Even though they got the TI inferior, they're more in tune to being diligent in school. That helps quite a bit.
yeah.
Storing all that information, taking in new information. So I do think that helps them quite a bit. While the ENFJ, they got the SE. A lot of times the SE can want things to work now, not into like paying the long term cost for a lot of things. And then with them, being extroverted with the FE, it can be dangerous looping. While the ESFJ, got that NE, the NE, and pretty curious function there. So I would do that. We're gonna get killed in the comments here. ISFJ, what do you guys think about that?
Let's. I think they're in the average range. I don't see them as being offline. I do see them slightly ahead of ESTP, but yeah, maybe even slightly above. I don't know. They're probably more reflective. I don't have like a lot of experience with them, but probably above ESFJ
Yeah.
by a little bit.
T, what are you thinking?
Um, not a ton of experience with them. I think they can be fairly intelligent, and like I think in certain cases they might entertain like abstract ideas. I think I think what might put them ahead of ESFJs. I think they might be a little bit more likely. They're introverts. They might be more likely to kind of actually entertain abstract realms versus the ESFJ. But I think they are fairly equal to ESFJ, like in most respects. So I think it's probably fair to put them right there.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're kind of like the ISTJ with the SI hero. So they're gonna be very serious about school. That helps them quite a bit. They're also going to, maybe want to go be a nurse, so further education. Go want to possibly be a doctor, and they do have the discipline to go and go do that. The TI child is pretty good as well. Because you got the SI and TI, all the stuff you learn through school, so it helps pretty damn good with that. I like our list here, guys. So at the top, what do you guys think? We got INTP and INTJ, good there.
Definitely.
And the top are built different. We got the
What's that?
ENTP, the ISTJ, the ESTJ, and then the ENFP. Okay. And at average Joe, we got ISTP, INFP, ENTJ, INFJ, ISFJ, ESFJ, and then ESTP. Boy, the ESTP is gonna be mad, and the ENTJ is gonna be mad. Boy, they gonna be storming.
I
I
still think ESTP should be brain AFK, but
we got him in the back of fucking average Joe. And then brain offline, we got ENFJ and ISFP, and then at the bottom we have the ESFP at bullshit guys. So that's our tier list.
I think there's even an argument for ISFP being well shit, to be honest.
You probably make a comment, I'm interested to see what people are gonna say. I know there's gonna be a lot of like ENTJs upset about where we placed them.
For
Uh,
sure.
but I mean, there's a lot
Cry
of
harder
ENTJs.
is my response. Cry harder.
I think that's gonna be a shocker. I think them seeing the INFP so high is also a shocker. But I
Not
think
really.
yeah,
A lot of them are your writers. A lot of them are
yeah,
your academics.
Yeah.
What are
yeah,
ENTJs doing that is super academic? Just being honest here.
yeah, yeah. You're right.
They're INFPs are entertaining more philosophy than ENTJs. They're all about what to do in a business sense, what's going to work for them. They don't care about just studying something for the hell of it.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean,
just not happening.
you
They're not
delivered.
going to reflect. There's no self-reflection in them, hardly. I'm sorry that like you can argue with me. I don't care. Like, but you're wrong. I'm just gonna let you know you're and
Yeah,
ratioed by me. So
yeah.
don't try it.
So, argue in the comments below, guys. If you don't know, Donald Trump is an ENTJ, and I swear to God, that motherfucker says so much wrong shit. It's not even funny. I don't even think. I think the worst thing about Donald is Donald takes TE data that aligns with FI. Like it has to align with his FI.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not even trying to be objective with it. But I do think you have some of the smart ENTJs like Larry Ellison,
yeah.
a lot smarter.
There's some smart ones.
Mark
Yeah.
Cuban, I think, is also a pretty smart one. Um,
Alex Hormozy. He's
yeah,
They're just
he's
more
he's
business savvy than
and
intellectual.
I would say what's his name? Patrick Bet David.
Yeah.
But he woke up later in life, so
yeah, he didn't do well. Like when he was young, he didn't do well in school. I think his GPA was terrible. He might
2.0
have
or
even
something like that. 2.0.
yeah, he it was kind of yeah, later on that like he woke up and like, oh shit, I have to like, I have to get
That
my
shit
shit
tough.
together.
Yeah,
Um
yeah. I mean, you got Dan Blazerian. He said he hated school too.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to getting shit done, they're unmatched and being pragmatic about it, very unmatched.
Yeah, for sure.
But like the TI behind it, sometimes you be like, bro, I can't believe you said that, bro. Um, but yeah, you guys can argue with us in the comment, guys. This is a fun one. I think the next one we'll do is emotional intelligence, and you guys know the whole board will change for that. That's gonna be fun because we're
It'll be
all
probably
low.
inverted.
Yeah, we're all low at FE here, so it's gonna be fun to see where we rank the whale shit motherfuckers and who are gonna be at the top of the line. Spiritual leader, next coming of Jesus, Buddha, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Yeah, whatever. But we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.